sports to transcend linguistic, cultural and social barriers makes it an excellent platform to transform negative perceptions into inclusion and adaptation. Through sport, persons with disabilities acquire vital social skills, develop independence, and become empowered to act as agents of change. Psychological benefits of sport, such as stress relief and increased self-confidence, are also motives for participation and sustained involvement in sports for persons with disabilities. Some athletes were born with birth defects that resulted in loss of limbs or paralysis. Others sustained life-altering injuries after serious accidents or after serving their duties. What is important is that athletes with disabilities are able to compete in sports at elite levels. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. For persons with disabilities, the key is a fighting spirit, grit, courage and resolve, strength of character, understanding that there is no such thing as no, just not yet, doing what it takes to see your vision through. With sports comes potential injury, and physiotherapy plays an amplified role in providing therapeutic support to injured or disabled persons to ensure they return to normal activities safely and as quickly as possible. And just like we have the Olympics, we also have Paralympics, an elite sports event for athletes with physical and sensory disabilities to compete at international level. And in studio today, we have Kudakwashe Mapira, known as the Terminator, a footballer who made history by becoming the first physically challenged player to make the Zimbabwean Homeless World Cup team. Kudakwashe was also selected as the first Par football ambassador in Africa. He is testament to how losing his leg didn't stop him from becoming a professional footballer. What's stopping you from achieving your goals?
Yeah, beyond limits. Phoenix gon' rise. Yeah, I'll never underestimate another man. Cause what I can't do, that brother can. And I hope the people understand disability. Another chance to make a friend. Naga coach and naga coach. Unable just to walk, but the journey to my dreams. Naga farm but naga talk. Saka wonders on the own. Even though I don't see, I still believe in the dream that I have. I need to speak to someone when I'm sad. Cause if I overthink and I keep it contained, I'll just keep on succumbing to season of pain.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Limits, where we are talking to Kuda Mapira. He is a footballer with a disability. He goes by the name Terminator. We'll find out more about him. Kuda, welcome to the program.
Welcome, sir. How are you?
Good. Now, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Who is Kudakwashe Mapira?
Kudakwashe Mapira is a young boy, aged 29, and I grew up in a big family with eight children.
Kuda, you are a sports person. Can you tell us, kuti unotamba mtambo upi, how did you get into that sport?
Takangokurira, especially in Glenora, soccer is the main sport. It's the first sport in Glenora. We have legends, soccer legends like George Shire.
Who doesn't know Mastermind Shire?
Yeah, the late Fred Mkwesha, Friday Piri, Dixon Choto, Tinashe Ngomasha. On social, ndakatamba na Tinashe Ngomasha, Dixon Choto, because ndotamba nawo cause ndakachuzwa muZimbabwe zim legends, zim ambassadors team, yema football legends vakaretire. I'm part of Zimbabwean ambassadors team. You
have a disability. How did you get to start playing football?
I would thank my family first, my parents, because vakangondi-treat semumwe mwana angorichi akangofanana nevamwe kunzi. Vakangondonawo vangoti no, go out and play with other kids. At first, zvinoanetsa tichitanga kutamba. But as time goes on, patakazotoma grade 1, 2 takuenda kuchikoro. Zvazvatonoma kwaari zvoti even like now kuwaudza kuti inini ndiri disabled kuma friends angu unonga wakutovaonesa zvisimo maari. I grew up competing with them. Chavanogona ndaigona, ndikawana confidence yangu kuma friends angu. Kuimprove mental health to kuvanhu vari disabled, ingori nyaya yekuti one, ndiri mumwe wevamwe vacho wavanofanira kudzidza kubva kwavari, kuti kana uyu akadai inini ndozvitadzonei.
But sports in general inobatsira.
Sport in general, yeah, very much. Zvakanyanya sterek.
So what is the importance of mental health for persons with disabilities?
Mental health yakanyanya kukosha because pane zvese unoita, like ukaona mental health pane zvese zvaunoita ukangobvisa kamwe kabrain kaika kekuti ndakadai ndakaremara handiti unoita zvese zvaunokwanisa,
Anditi
unoachieva zvese zvaunoda kuachieva. Hapana chakambosiyana.
Terminator, how did you get that name?
Some of my guys vanoti iwewe wakura uri so energetic, zvinhu zvako zvaita wanga uri energetic and wakazenge uri bully futi. So I think ndo makore akabuda the Terminator movie. Iendapo chipinda mustreet muzatiri vadiki tinisati takunyatsorizina. Mwe mwana ngachitokuona nezvauri otokujairira. So at first zvinokunetsa uchimbojairirwa zanga achiona kuti uyu ane weakness ndomurova. Unoona. So ivo vanhu ivavo ndo vakazonditena pandakazongoitawo confidence for vangonditena kuti ndozva ndangoona kuti but vana chaanogona ndochigona kana umurova ndomurova.
What are some of the challenges that you faced same time wenamva?
Ndakatadza kutambawo nevamwe. I couldn't play competitive professional football in Zimbabwe because when I grew up I wanted to be a Cape United player. Ndakatomboenda kuma trials.
What are some of your successes as a footballer with a disability?
To be chosen to represent Zimbabwe at the Homeless World Cup 2019 it was. And I was the team captain.
So were you playing against persons with physical disabilities as well?
No. It was an able-bodied tournament.
Okay, you were the only one with a disability.
I was the only one with a disability. I was the man of the match. Poor award, Soul of Hope.
So where do you see yourself with your footballing career? Do you see yourself joining maybe mainstream football at some stage, and where do you want to take your game to?
I'm still into soccer.
Okay.
Maybe one day I'll be one of the best coaches in Africa.
We also understand that you are part of para-football. Can you tell us what this para-football is all about and at what stage you are at right now?
Para-football is an organization iri kubatsira people with disability. Yofoma league yebhora, whether in Zimbabwe, kwese all over the world, so that kunoitwa even a World Cup disabled soccer.
You said you were selected as the para footballer and also as the ambassador for Africa. How did you feel when you got that nomination?
That was a dream come true. I'm the only ambassador in Africa. Para football is a big organization. I'm working with other ambassadors. Sanchez, he plays for Rio Zaragoza. So in Spain, in La Liga.
Right, I understand you have started or established an organization. Can you tell us more about that organization?
It's a Terminator mentality, a Terminator mindset, a fighting spirit. We're into fitness. tinobatsira wakawanda kune vari disabled vane kudetsekana like now titoona mamwe maschools ari kutodawo service yeterminator mentality kuvana vavo nemamwe magyms ari kudawo chimboya umboito part of umboya umbolido one day kana maaerobics with terminator mentality. It's going to be a big project. It's going to be an international project chitautizikana kwese. Same neku para football, and para football they're chipping in foot ku terminator mentality. Wakati no kugutora ne terminator mentality yako. Yeah, to itase so that pazvese zvatichaita. Okay. Terminator mentality tinenge tichiita se support because it's a good initiative.
Yeah, beyond limits. Finney's gonna rise. Yeah, I'll never underestimate another man. Cause what I can't do, that brother can. And I hope the people understand disability. Another chance to make a friend. Naga coach, unable just to walk, but the journey to my dreams. Naga famba, naga talk. Naga wanda shanda ona. Even though I don't see, I still believe in the dream that I have. I need to speak to someone when I'm sad, cause if I overthink and I keep it contained, I'll just keep on succumbing to seasonal pain.
Hello, Mr. Tendai Moyana. Thank you so much for having us at your establishment here today. My name is Majita Samurio, and I came to find out about the importance of physiotherapy in our general day-to-day lives and whether physiotherapy can prevent injuries from becoming disabilities.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to host you.
What is physiotherapy?
Physiotherapy is a medical science that focuses on human movement, essentially. So the general assumption is movement is critical for life at various levels, from a cell level to your movement within a society. But now it mostly focuses on the human body movement. So the assumption is you stop moving, you stop living. So what physiotherapy does is to facilitate normal movement, or in cases where normal movement is not possible, it helps to adjust and maybe to enable with appliances what can be mitigated.
Here at City Physiotherapy Clinic, your mantra is your movement, your life. Now, from a personal perspective, I injured my foot during a sporting activity, and I didn't seek physiotherapy. In fact, I've been in pain still, regardless of the fact that I visited a doctor, got my scans done, and took my multivitamins. My question, therefore, is, can physiotherapy prevent an injury from becoming a disability?
It's an unfortunate experience. Physiotherapy can prevent injuries, and it can also be used where there's an injury to sort of like stop it progressing to be a disability. But what's important then is a thorough assessment, especially at the time of injury, to assess maybe the problem and the risk factors that are involved, then attending to those. Then with reassessments, further interventions can then be decided on. By the time the patient gets discharged, it's either the problem has been fully addressed, or if there's limitations, then maybe adjustments can also be recommended. The health profile of a nation also to a certain degree determines the services that are available. So it's possible that in some communities it's not readily available as we would wish it to be. So some communities, yes, do not have access to physiotherapists. In private practice, there's a limitation because directly there's a cost involved. And depending on their circumstances, whether they are economically able to then pay for the bills, or maybe they've got medical aid cover that they can use to cover for their costs, the access will be limited. However, an area that might need improvement would be government services, whereby they can still get equally the quality service at some government institutions where maybe they are covered through social welfare so that they still continue to get the care without them necessarily bearing the direct cost of it. If the child is born with clubfoot, it's almost like a congenital condition. What's important there is the timing of the intervention. So usually, yes, with early intervention, corrections can be made in time, and the child can have a normal foot and be able to walk and stand normally. In cases where that is not possible now, the child can grow beyond the level of manipulation, where you can no longer manipulate the foot through physiotherapy. Maybe the intervention that will be possible now is through surgery, which is now even more expensive. So if the child is unfortunate and to be in a community where they don't have enough access to such services, yes, it can then result in disability, and it will limit their movement in their day-to-day lives, and probably be associated with other complications like arthritis, because of how they are using their foot and not walking in a normal way.
And what are the common injuries that you faced in practice?
The main common complaint is lower back pain. That's a major one. On a month-to-month basis, it could account for up to 40-45% of our clients that we see. We have a special bias towards sport. We work with different sporting teams and athletes, so we also see a significant number of sports injuries. Depending on the nature of the sport, you have overload injuries, and also you have overuse injuries. So there you have your ankle sprains, your knee sprains. Those are common ones. To a certain extent, you have some fractures. You have muscle aches, muscle strains. Then in some severe injuries, we also see patients when they are in their rehabilitation phase, say after a surgical procedure, maybe to correct the injury when it occurred. Pain is the body's language telling you that something needs attention. It's a common practice in some sports disciplines where players actually take painkillers, anti-inflammatories, and continue to play. Yet, contrary to our religion in sports, where we have, say, our popular players, we hear headlines, they are off sports, say, for weeks, months, sometimes. But when it comes to ourselves, we don't allow for that. That is the time that is important for recovery, to allow for treatments to occur. Then when you come back, you are fit. So instead of being 60% and continuing on the field, it's better to miss a few weeks and be 100%, then people can perform better. So as you get older, recovery takes longer. Your body loses water. Your agility, your mobility becomes more difficult. You lose certain functions that you were previously able to. So from the ages of around 30, your body plateaus, right, in terms of its abilities, physicalities. Then after the plateau, then it starts to preparing to wrap it off, and we have to call it a wrap from earth. If you have a good background of physical activity, when incidences, say, of a stroke happens, it means that you have suffered a stroke, but with a physically active body. Besides just only the extent of the stroke, that is, how it will affect you, its physical activity on its own would have delayed or prevented such an occurrence. Like exercise is known to prevent some of those chronic disease complications. So the recovery from a stroke, it depends, one, at what time does the stroke occur, the age of the patient. There's also a variation on genders. There's also a variation on race. There's also a variation on personal factors. How active was the person? How was their diet? How well were they? Do they have other conditions that they were getting treatment for, etc. So there are a lot of things that come into play. So no two patients are the same.
So what type of attitudes have you faced from either persons with disabilities or injured persons in seeking physiotherapy? So you spoke about retraining the mind. Do you ever get people that get frustrated and then they just stop seeing you completely, but you know they need that help?
An injury or a disability is mentally taxing. So it now depends now on the individual and their support structure. A reaction of anger is a common one. A reaction of desperation and helplessness is a common one. To a certain extent, denial. You can have a patient that comes in, then with slow recovery, sometimes they can even start being absent, they discontinue. Then at a certain time, they think again, they want to continue. So the attitudes, they do vary from individual to individual. But individuals that, say, sustain a disabling injury later in life usually have the most difficult temperaments, especially at the loss of movement ability. Usually it's also collaborated with the loss of income if they were economically active in a job which needed them to be physically active. So sometimes they are discharged from their duties on medical grounds. So you have, in addition to their physical complaints that they have, socially, and they are also burdened with other things. Then economically also, they also be burdened with other things. Some even get to a point of probably contemplating suicide because of the burden that they'll be fighting their own fight. In the absence of direct funding, in the absence of effective social services, in the absence of adequate public health infrastructure, there'll be limitations to the quality of service that they will receive.
Okay, can you give us some examples of some commendable athletes that have disabilities in Zimbabwe that are doing great things despite their disability or serious injury?
We've got the famous Mjaji, who is an Olympic medalist. They did well despite their disability. They performed well. We also have some community wheelchair basketball teams that participate in sport. You see a lot of youths with the various disabilities participating in sport. But you also need to also highlight that this is a special group with special requirements, especially to the participation for sport, which should actually be encouraged. So over time, you would also notice that some of it has been limited by resources available to them, but they do participate in a lot of sport. It's not surprising to have some who have been left out. So it would be good to broaden the net so that everyone and everyone is encouraged to participate.
I'm running out of breath. Hello and welcome to the program Beyond Limits here at the City Physiotherapy Clinic to find out more about the link between physiotherapy and disability.
We learned so much today about sports injuries, common injuries, accidental injuries, and I kind of learned how to use this thing right here. Ishmael, do you know what this is?
No idea.
Well, it's a tendon hammer, and it helps with the reflexes and sensations of the body. We learned about physical disabilities, we learned about sports injuries, accidents, backaches, strokes, everything that happens at these physiotherapy clinics in relation to...
And what's that ball?
Well, I think this ball represents a lot. Today's segment is on sports and disabilities. So City Physiotherapy Clinic gets a lot of sports stars here where they come and get treated, whether it's after accidents or football injuries or just normal sporting activities. So this is what it kind of means. You want to catch, yeah, Ishmael?
Sure. Are you the sporting person? Are you the sporting type?
Definitely am. Except because I didn't get physiotherapy, I'm still in a lot of pain. So catch Beyond Limits and learn more about the role of physiotherapy with persons with disabilities. Prevention is definitely better than cure, that's for sure. I am your host, Manjita Sambriyo.
I'm Ishmael Ndovu.
And you're watching Beyond Limits.
Yeah, I'll never underestimate another man. Cause what I can't do, that brother can. And I hope the people understand disability. Another chance to make a friend. Like a coach, unable just to walk, but the journey to my dreams like a farmer, like a